What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about binge eating, how to recover from it, and how to finally lose the weight. I'm pretty sure I have never talked about this before, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of context about my journey because it didn't start at I want to lose weight, boom, weight loss. No. It would have been way too simple, I wish, but no. Let me basically give you my accreditations to talk about this topic and how I know a little bit about binge eating and how to recover from it. So, I didn't grow up fat. I was a healthy kid, very active, played a lot of different sports, loved that, and then puberty hit and I decided to take a lot of time to study for my exams. And I was a straight A type of student, so that's what I did, and I don't blame that. Like, I really enjoyed that, but that means that I was less active, not necessarily eating healthy at home, and yeah, I gained a little bit of weight, but I was still a cute kid. Even as a teen, I wasn't overweight. I still had a very healthy weight. I think I was like around 64, 66 kilos when I was 16, 17, 18. That wasn't big, but I still felt like I was the heavier friend. During my second year of uni, I discovered the wonderful world of calorie counting. And I had decided I was going to eat below 1,000 every day. And so that's what I did in order to lose the weight as quickly as possible. I remember coming back home from uni, my mom hugging me and being like, oh my God, you've lost so much weight. It feels like hugging a skeleton. And not only was I proud of that, I was also feeling like I wasn't skinny enough yet. And I still had to count while at home to lose even more weight. And you know, I was eating as little as I could. I was very active because I was working in a restaurant and I also happened to be doing like some workout before my shift, daily shift, in order to be in an even greater deficit. Of course, I lost even more weight. I got very close to being underweight, but I wasn't underweight yet, so I was not seeing myself as skinny enough. I was developing anorexia tendencies and behaviors, but since I wasn't underweight, even if I had seen someone, they would have told me, you are not anorexic, I can't help you because you're not underweight yet. So yeah, there's that too. And then I went to the US, and that was a pretty life-shifting event in so many ways because something snapped mid-October and I went from severely undereating to binging multiple times per day. I remember feeling very sick and still eating and taking a 10-minute breaks and then eating even more. It was a very, very dangerous behavior, and obviously I gained weight. I went from almost underweight to very overweight in just a couple months. Like, I would go to the groceries, buy as much food as I could that I knew I was gonna eat, especially food that I could eat while on the way back home. I need to make sure I was able to stuff my face and throw all the evidence before I got back to my flat that I was sharing with 3 other people. So that was me with binge eating disorder, and I snapped out of it, I guess, the 1st of January. I had been avoiding the scale because I knew I was gaining weight, but I didn't realize how much. So when I did realize, I was first of all shocked. I remember crying in the bathroom after realizing, oh my God, I put on 20 kilos. And that was a pretty difficult time. So January, New Year's resolution hit, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go back to my old plan, between 10 to 1200 calories every day, and I'm gonna do a lot of workout, I'm gonna walk a lot, and I'm gonna lose the weight before I get home so no one will know. On paper, pretty good plan. In practice, it didn't go as planned at all. And I very quickly developed bulimic tendencies when I would restrict very, very heavily on one day and then binge at night and try to restrict even more the next day and binge again, and I didn't really know how to deal with that, so I desperately tried to restrict to 1200 and then didn't work because obviously I was heavier, so I needed even more food than when I started the first time, so it went terribly. And I remember very vividly after a morning binge, uni was closed down because of a lot of snow. So I decided that I would go for a 2-hour walk in the snow, which was stupid and very dangerous, and I did it nonetheless, and it was like above my knees and I had no equipment and I like almost fell a few times. I was like, no, I'm being so good, I'm burning it off, and that's when you see how disordered my thinking was, but it still happened. Got back home, I hadn't lost a lot of weight, like maybe 2 to 3 kilos. I was very ashamed and very embarrassed about it. I'm very lucky that absolutely no one made a comment. No one at my job, no one in my family, no one said a thing, and I'm very grateful for that because it would have been 10 times harder if someone had said something. And it took me another solid year of, you know, binging, restricting, trying to figure it out, losing the weight, gaining it back, and, you know, in that cycle, and finally lose the weight for good. So today I'm sharing all of my secrets, everything. We'll talk nutrition, we'll talk lifestyle, we'll talk workout, we'll talk everything to help you achieve the same result and get out of this cycle that can be so destructive, really. Quick disclaimer, if you do suffer from any of the mentioned above disorder, anorexia or binge eating disorder or bulimic tendencies, please go see someone. Please go see someone. This is not medical advice. This is just my experience and how I dealt with it, but it would have been 10 times, if not 100 times faster if I did go see someone who would have been able to help me. So please, if any of the things that I said apply to you, go see a professional that will be able to walk you through the healing path so much better than I ever will. Also, for those who don't know me, hi, my name is Flo. I'm a certified personal trainer, and my mission on here is basically to help you reach your dream body the healthy and sustainable way. Well, it's pretty interesting to explain my entire life story and not tell you my name and who I was, but anyways, now that this is all out of the way, let's get started on how to stop binge eating and how to finally lose the weight for good. So the first thing I did was identifying my triggers. What I did was asking myself what actually causes the binges. The number one trigger was hunger. And it should have been obvious to me, like, you know, you are eating half what your body requires just to stay alive. Of course, you're gonna binge. Of course, it's going to do everything it can to have you eat enough food and survive. So I definitely had to honor my hunger. I'm going to talk about it in a second. We're going to talk about intuitive eating. My second trigger was sleep deprivation. On the days I didn't sleep well enough, I would feel so much more hungrier and so much more likely to binge, which totally makes sense again, because your body didn't get the energy it needed through sleep. So it's going to ask you to get it through something else, aka food. It's going to increase your ghrelin levels, so basically the hunger hormone, and reduces your leptin. You're going to feel hungrier throughout the day, and it's going to be more difficult to actually feel satisfied. And you are going to be mostly craving the food, you know, high in carbs, high in sugar, just to get that quick hit of energy that your body desperately needs. So I made sure from then on to sleep 7.5 to 9 hours every night, and it helped a ton with that. Honey. My third trigger was emotional eating, and it can be due to a lot of different emotions. Any minor inconvenience could definitely lead to a binge. Oh my god, let me show you. Hi, honey. So basically, any minor inconvenience could lead me to a binge. If I felt angry, sad, bored, stressed out, especially stressed out. And I get that food brings us so much comfort, but the lethargy I would feel afterwards, the shame, the guilt, and basically feeling so sick was getting less and less worth it. The biggest thing was I had to find better ways to manage my emotions, starting with stress. I found EFT, so emotional freedom technique. I'm not certified in that, so I'm not going to be talking a lot about it, but it's basically tapping your meridian point, saying specific affirmations based on what you're feeling. Helps so much. And I'm actually going to recommend Brad Yates. He is on YouTube. He has so many, like at least just a good 10 years of content on his YouTube channel. So whatever you may be feeling, he has a video for that. Amazing, give it a go. And obviously I had to find other ways to cope with other specific emotions, such as boredom or anger. And I found out that angry workouts were some of the best workouts I ever had. The point is, you just have to find what works for you and then try. When you catch yourself with that emotion, instead of trying to go to food to cope with it, actually go to whatever you plan that would be a healthier coping mechanism. Another big trigger would be the scale moving up, or at least not moving down. That would really trigger me, piss me off, make me feel like, why am I bothering? Fuck it, I might as well quit, it's not working. It's very linked to emotional eating, because that feeling of impatience and frustration would be like an emotion that led to the binge, right? So what I had to do was getting rid of the scale for a while. I would hide it and not use it and make it in an inconvenient place for me to use it. I stopped weighing myself. I stopped doing that for a while until I felt confident enough again on my fat loss journey, but it took me a long time of not seeing the scale to actually help reduce that trigger. Let's talk about habits. It can sound crazy, but binging can just be a habit, and it sounds wild, but it became a habit for me because when I worked in London, I got off the tube, and whichever road I would take, because I could either take the long road or the shortcut, and both of them would have me have to basically pass a grocery store. One of them had amazing donuts, the other one had amazing cupcakes. There was no way around it, so I was like, okay, I'm fucked. But obviously now you cannot break habits, but you can replace them. Let me know in the comments, by the way, if you want me to make a video about habits. But basically what I did for that specific one was to cross, so I would be on the other side, so it would be one more step to get to the grocery store. I would have to, cross the road, even if it was inconvenient for me to get to my house, because again, I would have to cross twice. I still did that. So I was on the other side of the road and I called my brother. I called my brother when I got off the tube, and I would say, okay, let's just I have a 20-minute walk, let's go. And he was amazing. I would be near the groceries. I would be like, okay, groceries in sight, please distract me however you can. He did an amazing job at that again. We did that often enough that at some point I got to just go and be so deep into the conversation with my brother that I would barely notice the grocery store anymore, and I would just be home and be like, wow, we did not stop for a second and said, oh my God, the grocery store is here. This was one way, a huge way, because I remember before that, the habit was got off the tube, passing the grocery store, seeing it, feeling the urge, and, giving in. And I went in the store in binge mode, if you know, you know, and I would get as much food as I could in my arms. The rule was no basket. If it fit my arms, I'm taking it. If not, I've stopped. That was the only rule I had when it came to binges. I would prefer to buy food that I could eat on the road. So again, all packages would disappear before I got home. Find the habits that lead to a binge and then replace them. You can't break them. You have to replace them with something else. Last thing that was huge and that I think a lot of us can relate is slipping up from your plan. It's messing a little bit, maybe having one extra cookie or eating a little bit more because you felt hungrier that day, or missing a workout, and you just have that all or nothing mentality that, fuck it, I messed up, I might as well quit. And it's a crazy deduction to go from I missed a workout or I ate an extra cookie, I might as well self-sabotage and make myself sick with food for the next couple weeks. But here we were, I guess. I'm gonna tell you what I did. I'm still not sure how it worked, but it did. So I'm gonna share it with you. My plan always involved tracking calories before intuitive eating that we'll mention in a second. But what I did was, if I was eating a bit more, I would add it on MyFitnessPal. And the simple act of having written down and seeing it on the meal diary instead of eating it and then being like, fuck it, I'm not gonna enter it in my diary and so on, it made me feel as if it was part of the plan. And the fact that it was part of the plan, I would call that a refeed day, a day when I was allowed a little bit more food just for my body to recover more, whatever bullshit I wanted to tell myself, it worked. So I'm glad it worked. And so I was doing the same with my workouts, meaning that if one day I missed the workout, I would call it an extra rest day so I can better go back to the gym and, lift heavier or run faster, whatever. It did not fully cure my all or nothing thinking, but it definitely made a huge difference in me not binging because I slipped up. So these are basically the biggest triggers that I've known of, that I've basically been able to not fully get rid of, but know how to manage better and not use food as a coping mechanism. Your goal right now is to figure out what triggers your binges. Is it just like me? Is it, a combination of all of that? Or is it something else? And you just have to figure out what it is, which habits, which emotions. And once you know the triggers and you figure out how to eliminate it, how to reduce it, or how to find better ways to cope with it, it changes the game and definitely helps you get off of the binge restrict cycle. I want to give a quick note on laps because it's going to happen. And I managed to go from 2 binges a day to 1 binges per day to 1 every other day to 1 every 3 days, 4 days, and so on, and really space it out. If you prepare yourself saying, I know it is likely that I'm going to binge again, but my job right now is just to reduce the occurrences, it's going to make a huge difference because, again, you won't be in the I slipped up because I binged, but okay, I have been able to reduce it. It's not every day, it's every other day, or whatever the pace you're at right now. And this is going to definitely be helpful. in actually healing your relationship with food and getting out of the binge cycle. But I really want you to feel prepared that it doesn't have to be a long process, but it can be a really, really long as fuck process. Sometimes you are going to be dealing with one trigger and you are going to be able to deal with it and cope in other ways, and then another trigger shows up and another, and you feel overwhelmed, and then you go to binge. I knew it was going to take time, and I just was willing to give it as long as my body needed. And soon after I embarked on this healing journey, I discovered the wonderful world of intuitive eating. And I had never heard of that word before, and that's basically what we're all born with, but then diet fucks it up. And so the goal here is to just listen to your body, listen to your hunger cues, fullness cues, and give yourself whatever you crave and, you know, whatever you want to eat, and just honor your hunger basically, and honor your body's need for food. So I gave that a go. It was really scary because I realized that I needed a lot of food, a lot more than my normal self, and I was feeling hungry a lot. And I was like, okay, trust the process. A lot of people said that you're gonna feel hungry at first, you're gonna eat a lot first, but it's gonna wane down, it's gonna be okay. So I kept on eating. I was really self-conscious about, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? What am I hungry for? Am I full? Do I still need more? Do I need to finish that plate? Do I need to have a little bit more? Do I need a snack? It was exhausting. Like, it's a tiring process at first because it's a lot of questioning yourself and learning back all those cues that you lost on the diet way. I didn't weigh myself, so I have no idea if I gained weight. But the great thing about that is that since I stopped binging during that time, I was just allowing myself to eat more. I stopped binging. I stopped feeling lethargic. I stopped making myself sick. I was actually more energetic. I had more mental space because I wasn't constantly thinking about food or thinking about avoiding food or thinking about my weight. I was doing so much more stuff, and I had more energy, so when I was working out, I had better workouts. Since I wasn't always binging, that means that I wasn't constantly bloated and I was not constantly feeling heavy, and I quickly felt better in my clothes without necessarily having lost weight. Trust that once you let yourself eat whatever, the feeling of novelty will fade away. Like at first, like, oh my God, I can eat whatever I want, let's have whatever I want. It will fade away and you'll realize, hold on, I'm not actually a huge fan of that food. It's just because I used to forbid myself to have it that I wanted it. But now that I can have it, I realize it's not even that good, or I don't really like it, or not in the quantities I used to crave it. So you have to trust yourself, you have to trust your body. Since I was at the time studying to become a personal trainer, I was getting a lot of good nutrition knowledge. So it was pretty easy. I was at a 60 to 40% ratio, I would say, in terms of healthy food to not healthy food. And I was able to bring it to 65 and then 70 and then now 75. And I'm happy with 75. I don't want to go up. Some days I feel like it's more 80, but most of the time it's 75, and I'm really happy with that. I don't really want to give you necessarily a time frame because I really don't want you to compare. But it took me a few weeks of allowing myself to eat a lot of food, more than normal quantities, and feeling really hungry for my body to kind of calm down and stop wanting that much food and get back to a normal amount of food and feeling normally hungry. I kept on going. I had a few binges here and there, but it was so much more rare than it used to be that I was like, I'm on the right path, I've got this, let's keep going, it doesn't matter anymore, my weight doesn't matter at the moment, until I trust myself enough and my body trusts me enough to be able to get back on the fat loss journey to get to a healthy weight, because at that point I was still overweight. I was not feeling good in my body necessarily, but I gave myself a few months to just heal my relationship with food. And again, I'm not going to give you a time frame because I don't want you to compare yourself. I'm just saying months because I want you to realize it takes time, but I'm not saying years. So I also want you to, it's between 1 and 12 months, deal with that. Then I felt pretty ready to lose the weight and get to a comfortable weight. I was not expecting to go back to being almost underweight. I was not going to go as low as I could. I just decided I just want to not be overweight anymore, which was from 82 kilos, which is where I started at, to 70. That's like on the upper of normal weight, healthy weight. That's where I want to be at. So let's go. So I'm not going to be sharing the entire weight loss strategy. I have a couple video training, very much in depth. And so you have that. I'm going to link it somewhere here. But the biggest difference I made here, was that I was simply at a 10 to 15% deficit. That equate to 300, 400 calories deficit every day. And this is how I was able to lose 35 plus pounds within 180 days without starving myself finally, without saying goodbye to my favorite food, without spending hours working out every single day. I was not actually working out more than 4.5 hours every single week. And of course, finally, without getting it back and without binging and without being stuck in that awful cycle that I had been in for years. So if you're someone who wants to do just that, lose the weight without feeling miserable, then I highly suggest you apply down below for one-on-one coaching. I don't work with everyone, so there is an application process and we have to see if you'd be a good fit for the program. But if you are, I would absolutely love to coach you. Cherry on top, if you do everything that I say, you follow the plan down to the T and you don't see results, I will refund you in full. This is how confident I am that my method will work. That's pretty much it for today's video. I think it was on the longer side. I hope you found it valuable, and if you did, let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.